Developing tonight, the Obama administration ducking new fallout from the latest twist in Hillary Clinton's ongoing private server scandal. Iran announcing the execution of Shahram Al-Miri, an alleged spy whose fate was discussed over Clinton's vulnerable email system way back in 2010. Yesterday, Senator Tom Cotton said this goes to show how Mrs. Clinton's gravely mishandled American secrets.
The emails that were on Hillary Clinton's private server, there were conversations among her senior advisors about this gentleman. That goes to show just how reckless and careless her decisions was to put that kind of highly classified information on a private server. I think her judgment is not suited to keep this country safe.
Now today, the State Department wouldn't say if Mrs. Clinton's emails led to the scientist's death. Watch.
Dr. Mary was referenced in the emails of former Secretary of State Clinton. Does the department think that, and some have even charged that there's a link between that appearance in unclassified emails and the prosecution and execution of Dr. Mary? Does the department see any linkage between the two?
So we're not going to comment on what may have led to this event.
All right, in just moments, we're going to speak to Judge Andrew Napolitano, who thinks Hillary Clinton may have jeopardized national security. But first, let's go to Chief Washington Correspondent James Rosen, who is in Washington with the details on this. James?
Trish, good evening. The Islamic regime says it executed Shahram Al-Miri because he gave the U.S. vital information about Iran's nuclear program while he was here in the States under bizarre circumstances. Back in June 2009, Al-Miri disappeared during a pilgrimage to Mecca. He surfaced a year later, posting internet videos in which he claimed alternately to have been abducted by the CIA, taken to Tucson and tortured, and that he was free and safe. Here's what Secretary of State Clinton said about him at the time.
Mr. Al-Miri has been in the United States of his own free will, and he is free to go. He's free to go. He was free to come. These decisions are his alone to make.
Al-Miri made it to the Pakistani embassy in Washington and there demanded to return to Iran, which he did. Even in announcing Al-Miri's execution on Sunday, the regime boasted that the U.S. intelligence community had been duped by Iran's.
Americans assumed for a while that Iran was not aware of this person's actions, or what he was linked to, or how he was taken to Saudi Arabia and taken away from there. They imagined that our intelligence was unaware of all of that.
In July 2010, when Al-Miri's return to Iran was still being finalized, a top energy advisor of Hillary Clinton's, former ambassador Richard Morningstar, wrote to Clinton's deputy chief of staff, Jake Sullivan, referring to Al-Miri as a, quote, friend to the United States and suggesting how to massage the issue for public consumption. Quote, "We have a diplomatic, psychological issue, not a legal issue," Morningstar wrote. "Our friend has to be given a way out. We should recognize his concerns and frame it in terms of a misunderstanding with no malevolent intent, and that we will make sure there is no recurrence." That email was forwarded to the Secretary of State, whose private server was so inadequately secured, the FBI concluded that, quote, hostile actors may have gained access to it. The Clinton campaign says it's remarkable that anyone would link her to this, quote, tragic death. Trish?
Wow. All right. Thanks so much. Here now with more, Judge Andrew Napolitano. And Judge, what do you think? I mean, did Hillary's email have something to do with this man's execution?
Well, we don't know because he was tried in a court system very unfamiliar to us, and he was convicted. He was sentenced to death. He appealed it. He lost the appeal, and yesterday he was apparently hanged. We do know that he did provide us with a lot of information. We do know that American intelligence agencies paid him a good deal of money. He was a classic spy. He provided information that was fed to Secretary Kerry, who had it in the back of his head or in his notes at the time he was negotiating with his opposite number that produced the Iranian Accords. Whatever you think of those accords, we had a leg up on them because of this spy who worked for us.
Okay,
but can you imagine if this email was used in the prosecution against him? Here, members of the court, is evidence that the American Secretary of State, the great Satan, was referring to you as their friend.
You know, if I were a spy anywhere in the world right now, I'd be pretty nervous knowing that Hillary Clinton's email server was not secure. Knowing that she could have said the same about me. You refer to someone as a friend, are you then in danger?
One of the reasons that one of the former leaders of the NSA, now in private life, suggested that the Democratic National Committee was probably hacked by the NSA is because of the well-known antipathy that the intelligence community has to Hillary Clinton. And that antipathy is based on a couple of things, not the least of which is the reckless manner in which she exposed state secrets, including the names of spies, including the names of moles, including the names of double agents. And some of those people in the intelligence community had their covers blown by Mrs. Clinton's recklessness, and some of those people in the intelligence community, others believe, never came back home because she blew
And
their
this
cover.
is because of the email server, because somebody was able to get access to this?
This is because she failed to safeguard state secrets by causing all emails to come to her. She didn't write this email that referred to him as our friend, but she was copied on it, so it passed through her non-secure server. Some of this information she in turn sent to her friend Sid Blumenthal, who had no national security clearance and no security whatsoever on his server, and we know that his server was breached, probably by the Iranians.
And members of the intelligence community believe that there are people that have been compromised as a result.
And for that reason, they do not want to see Mrs. Clinton in the White House because they believe she's a danger to national security. And the more she lies about this, Trish, put aside the politics, the more she feeds their fear and antipathy.
Sure. Judge, good to see you tonight.
Good
Thank
to
you so
see
much,
you.
sir. All right, the saga of the so-called clock boy, remember him? Continues. First, his homemade clock landed him in hot water with authorities. Then he left the country. Well, guess what? He's back in the USA. He's filing a lawsuit. The details on that one next.